I know you mentioned before that your training for Ironman taught you a lot of great lessons that are helping you now to deal with all these post-exit psychological challenges. Could we talk a bit about that? Because I got very inspired by that idea.
Yeah, I think what I think about that is that there's something about identifying your greatest fears and then overcoming them,
Hmm.
and it's got to be a big fear. It's got to be something that is, something that like you have a really high chance of failing.
Hmm.
Not just like, oh, I'm gonna, go run a marathon, and like 97% of people that start a marathon finish it or whatever, right? I'm talking about something that 50% of people that start don't finish, like
Hmm.
a big scary thing. And for me around Ironman, that was the swim. So the 2.4 mile swim takes around 2 hours, depending on how, some people it takes 1 hour, but for an average person, maybe 2 hours. For someone who's a little bit faster, an hour and a half in open
Hmm.
water. That's, and I have this fear of drowning. And, I definitely,
Hmm.
when I started, I could barely swim 50 meters across a pool. Um,
Hmm.
and, and then on top of that, getting out of the pool and then riding a bike for 6 or 7 hours, and then getting off of a bike and running for 5 or 6 hours on top of that, it just seems ludicrous. And I remember, being in that journey, and sort of, putting in the hours, putting in the practice, um, and just failing and being like, how is this gonna work? Um, but
Hmm.
you just, you trust the process, you keep going, you take another step. I hired
Hmm.
a triathlon coach to help guide me along this journey, which helped from the mindset. And one of the days I can
Hmm.
remember, I was supposed to do a 3 hour workout, but my kids were um, had a fever the night before, and I got like 3 hours of sleep, and I just, woke up and I was like, there's just no, I texted I'm like, there's no way, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm supposed to go run 3 hours a day. And he's like, just get out, tie your shoes. And he's like, go for 45 minutes. Just get out for 45
Hmm.
minutes. And I think I ended up running like maybe an hour and 15 minutes or
Hmm.
something like that, because I was tired and whatever. And he came back and he gave me um, a huge high five, and he's like, you overcame that challenge. It wasn't perfect. You didn't hit 3 hours. You didn't do exactly, but you adapted in that moment. You overcame the obstacle,
Hmm.
and that led to you making progress. And one
Yeah.
of the other sayings that I have is lower the bar, raise the execution. And as you,
Hmm.
in doing that, and saying, hey, I don't have to get 3 hours to do anything here. I don't have to run 3 hours to get anything. I can run an hour and still get something and build momentum into the next
Hmm.
workout. All of these little wins pulled together and led to that finish. Me crossing that finish line 9 months
Yeah.
later. And when I did, I felt invincible. I felt like,
Yeah.
wow, I can do anything. And I
Hmm.
talked earlier about going from being insecure to being secure.
Yeah.
And that Ironman journey somehow helped me build confidence and
Hmm.
belief in myself, that I could set out to do anything I wanted to do. And once
Yeah.
that seed of a thing germinated in me, it helped. I could translate it from Ironman to other things.
That's amazing. I think it's such a beautiful story, and it sounds like your coach really knew what he was doing.
Speaking about doing things that you would actually fail at. I attempted to run a 100-mile ultra marathon last
Hmm.
year,
Yeah.
and I did not finish that race. And that was actually the first event of any kind that I can ever think of that I did not finish,
Hmm.
which was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
We really entered action with boldness there and just said, "Hey, like we're gonna go for something that I don't even know." And the fact that I failed like shows that I picked a goal that was truly hard.
Mhm.
And the other interesting thing that I learned in that 100-mile race of not finishing was that I had an incredible time. I had
Mhm.
so much fun training, and
Mhm.
the experience of being out on the I'll call it a battlefield instead of a race field with, my friends that I was doing this with. was incredible. And
Mhm.
finding joy in failure. I mean, that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. I don't like to fail, very competitive. But the fact that I enjoyed the journey without the destination, was also a new experience for me. And I appreciated it.